English present perfect in French with FrenchSpanishOnline.com. There is no present perfect tense in French, so we will use different tenses according to the English sentence instead. We are going to see 4 cases and 4 rules. In English, we use this tense for rule number 1, an action or an event started in the past and still true in the present. For example, you have passed your exam. It was true yesterday. It's still true today. In French, we are going to use le passé composé. So we will have tu as réussi tes examens. This tense, le passé composé in French, is very similar to the present perfect in English, so there is no difficulty. Actually, there is one. Le passé composé is not connected to the present in French. So sometimes, to understand better, you need to be clearer. Let's take an example. Fire has broken out in a building. So in English, you mean that the fire started in the past, but there is a fire now. However, if you translated it in French using le passé composé, you are going to say, and which is correct, un incendie a éclaté dans un immeuble. Perfect. But in French, you don't know if there is still a fire now with this tense, le passé composé. So you need to add more information. For example, et l'immeuble est toujours en feu. So, un incendie a éclaté dans un immeuble et l'immeuble est toujours en feu should be the correct translation of fire has broken out in a building if you really want to say that it's still true now too. So rule 1, for an action or an event started in the past and still true in the present, we use le passé composé in French. In English, we use this tense, the present perfect, part 2, with adverbs like ever, never, already, so far, etc. When you say, have you ever been to France? Actually, this question is not really related to the present. It's something in the past. So, have you ever been to France? We are going to use le passé composé, and this time with no problem in French, and say, as-tu déjà été en France? Rule number 2, with adverbs like ever, never, already, so far, we use le passé composé in French. In English, we use this tense, part 3, with expressions like this is the first time, the second time, etc. This is the first time I have seen this movie. As you can see here, we use the present perfect in English, have seen. In French, we use le présent. So we will say this is the first time I see this movie. In French, we use le présent and we have c'est la première fois que je vois ce film. Rule number 3, with expressions like this is the first time, the second time, the third time, etc. we use le présent in French. Rule number 4, after expressions like when or after, could you come when you have finished? After when, here we have the present perfect in English, have finished. In French, if you remember, after when, you can use the future tense. It is not possible in English. In French, you will say, could you come when you will have finished? Using the future tense, and actually because there is a past participle, in French this is le futur antérieur. And we have pourrais-tu venir quand tu auras fini? So here we have the auxiliary verb to have, aura, and the past participle, fini, so it is the futur antérieur in French. There is a lesson about it. You can go to FrenchSpanishOnline.com/magazine to know how to form it and how to use it in French. But remember, here, after when, you can use the future in French. Let's see another example for this rule number 4. I will go back home as soon as I have found the keys. So again, we have our expression here as soon as, and we have the present perfect have found. In French, we will say I will go back home as soon as I will have found the keys. We have a future in the first part, and in French, the future in the second part too. Je rentrerai à la maison quand j'aurai trouvé les clés. So, j'aurai trouvé is le futur antérieur, and it is our rule number 4. After expressions like when, after, as soon as, we use le futur antérieur in French. Let's summarize what we've just seen in this lesson. Rule number 1. For an action or an event started in the past and still true in the present, we use le passé composé in French. Rule number 2. With adverbs like ever, never, already, so far, we use le passé composé too in French. Rule number 3. With expressions like this is the first time, the second time, we use le présent in French. And finally, after expressions like when, after, we use le futur antérieur in French. If you want to practice now this lesson, go to FrenchSpanishOnline.com. C'est fini. Thank you for watching these slides with me. Au revoir.